That infectious smile you've had since high school.
Yeah, which is none.
Yeah.
I try if I try to smile, I look like you're goofy looking. Goofy looking enough. I don't need to try to do that.
Steve, you look like you've got a haircut.
And you are being
I did get a haircut.
Just a gentle reminder.
Miss Jolene, we were in the kitchen a couple days ago and whooped a towel around me, and I prayed quite a bit at that time, and she started trimming, but she did a pretty good job.
Does she have any appointments?
I have no idea what the back looks like.
Does she have any appointments open?
No, I don't know. She might give you a garage cut for a few bucks or something. Yeah.
I believe I'll pass.
Yeah, you don't have much cut anyway. So.
Hey, don't be. Listen, you don't want to be honest.
Hey, my dad used to say that the barber charged him for looking for hair instead of cutting hair.
Looking for hair instead of cutting hair. I can see that.
Hey, Eddie, you playing any golf at all, Eddie?
I played Saturday with some guys, and it was a different experience. One person on the cart, and we had to, the pin stays in the hole, and it was a different experience. But I did I walked the course.
Yeah, well, we put the two bags on the cart, and then one of us had to walk every other time. We just alternated.
I heard that Country Hills is doing pretty good though. That they've got pretty good turnout.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good month so far.
Good.
We got everybody here that's supposed to be here or wants to be here.
It's 14, so.
I'll take notes. I can take notes, Steve.
Okay. Oh my. Hi, Andy.
Mr. Brown.
How are you, sir?
I'm
Bill Portman. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about blast from the past.
Blast from the past.
a legend.
The legend in his own mind.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Sprouse has a meeting starting here at 7, so I want to go ahead and get this one started. I did not want us to really go another month without just talking, maybe even seeing each other through Zoom. I've Zoomed. I think this is my 8th or 9th time in the past 2 weeks. Mr. Hobsbawm, are you trying to get one of the chiefs on there with you? Yeah, that's what he's trying to do.
I'm here.
Okay. That's one of the chiefs. Where's the big chief?
I'm on the phone with Chief Miller right now trying to get him logged in. He's having a little bit tough technical difficulty, so I'm on the phone with him now. I'll have him on in just a minute.
Okay, sounds good. But I didn't want us to go, another month without at least talking with the situation we've been in and a couple things we need to discuss. And I know we want to discuss grant money a little bit because that'll be coming here pretty soon. And public safety, I know, is wanting some of that money. I don't want them to get some of that money, and I think most of us do. First thing I'd like to do is just pray with us, if that's okay. So let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, we love you. We thank you, Lord, for being our Lord. We thank you, Lord, for dying on the cross for our sins. I had some tough times here in the last month or so, God, that we don't really understand. Totally uncharted waters for us as human beings, but we know that this was no surprise to you and that the end result will be no surprise to you. So we just ask for your continued guidance, blessings on our city and each family that is represented here tonight. We pray, God, for the loss in family and the loss of Jimmy. But that's the good thing to know is Jim's on dancing on streets of gold. But still a big loss, and we're missing bad. So just be with his family, comfort them, and help them through this time. Let us make wise decisions in the next few minutes, few weeks for this city. Doing it over the internet, not doing it in person is a little bit different, but we're getting all that figured out. So again, Lord, we thank you for loving us and being good to us. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Good job.
Scotty, you ready? You're first on deck. Scotty.
All right, I think I'm on. Okay, so all I was given access to was the YouTube on the original one. Now I've got it. Thank you.
You good, Chief?
All right. Go ahead.
Scotty, you ready to go?
I'm having some technical difficulty.
We can hear you and see you.
You can hear and see me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I guess I am. I mean, mine keeps flashing in the middle of my screen. It's not like a regular Zoom meeting. All I can see is one person while I'm talking. Anyway, my screen keeps spinning, saying waiting. So I don't know if there's a connection issue or what. But if you can hear me, then yes, I'll go ahead. What do you want first, Chairman Brown? Do you want to like update on the COVID?
I really kind of want you to give a report on what your department's been doing the last month, and just whatever you talk about. I think we all kind of know, but we haven't really sat down and talked about those things. So I want to give you a few minutes to do that, and then I'm going to give Chief Jones and Chief Miller a chance to do that, and then we'll go on to something else. So,
all right. So basically, what we've been trying to do is just make sure. Hang on, I'm talking to Tina too because I'm trying to get through these issues I'm having. First, it might be more appropriate because I keep having issues, and I don't know. I guess if you guys can hear me, that's fine. So basically, we've just been training up, teaching our folks again about safety, the PPE, the level of PPE to wear. We have not reduced our call volume or our amount of people going on calls. I will say our call volume has dropped significantly. This past week, we ran 90 calls, and we've been averaging anywhere from 180 to 190. So we've kind of scaled back how we do things. We don't send 2 or 3 folks in the house at once. We send one in to do a patient assessment. And then if they need help, they simply ask for that help to come in. We're not exposing any of our medical equipment. We're not sending any of that in with us initially till that first person goes in and does that medical assessment. And just, I can tell you that the Indians are getting a little restless, because we're not training. We're not doing a whole lot of our regular stuff. So we're staying more in the stations and trying to practice that distance, safe distance stuff. So we're just trying to maintain a level of alertness. We don't want to drop the ball and think that this thing's getting lax as far as what we're doing. I want my folks to stay on top of their game as far as being situational awareness. And we just keep talking to them about that. We keep trying to provide them with information as far as what agencies are doing, coming forth with ideas as far as, things that changes we can do. We talked about creating satellite stations. If this thing really got to a bad state where we go in and move our truck companies to schools like they did in Franklin, we had already made arrangements to do that. We kind of, about the time we've talked about that, things have kind of slowed down some. That's still an option for us with Mr. Phillips, to move those truck companies to separate them and reduce the amount of people that we have at our stations, and also to reduce the opportunity to cross-contaminate. So we've been working on trying to find hotels. We've got some conversations with J.R. Ernst as far as facilities. He gave me an answer today that if we need them for $35 a night, we can put firefighters at the Hampton Inn, and for the same price, we can put police officers at the Holiday Inn, up to 8 rooms apiece. He would hold for us or let us use. And then if we got over 8, if we had that many folks that we were getting concerned about going home, cross-contaminating families or things like that, then we would certainly have to sit back down with him and talk about acquiring more rooms. If people started becoming symptomatic in those rooms, then we would have to find another location to put them or quarantine them at home, which I don't think that's a good idea, especially with families, in-laws, maybe a mother-in-law or a father or somebody living with somebody. So we just been kind of navigating those waters. All the retirement facilities in town, we've been talking to them on a regular basis. We set up a schedule. We check with them every Tuesday and every Friday and see if there's any patients that are having signs or symptoms. They're taking temperatures on a regular basis like we are. We're taking them 3 times a day. We take it first thing in the morning, We take it again at 7 o'clock at night, and then we take it again before they go home to see if there's any change in their temperature and to see if there's any I guess, symptoms that would go along with a COVID-19 exposure. We're just trying to do our best to protect our people and keep their morale up and keep the, I guess, the rumor mill from going rampant. And we're so far, with my 2 weeks of being absent with Chief Holt and the staff doing the job they did, and then plus what we've put in place now, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better group of folks. The retirement places have been more than very receptive to us. We're sharing equipment with them. We're sharing sanitizer with them, gowns, whatever we can do to help facilitate their needs. And they are certainly appreciative of that. And, you know, our elderly folks, sometimes we forget about them because they're not out there in the mix, but we want them to know that we're trying to do everything we can to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And then as you saw the news piece we did, we're also handing out literatures on those calls. When we go on a positive COVID-19 call, we're handing out paperwork about disinfecting your home and the steps to take per the CDC recommendations.
We haven't had anybody quarantined, have we?
We've had one guy that was quarantined. That was due to his wife's illness.
Yeah.
The doctor wanted to quarantine him because he was not sure yet what his wife had. That was only for 3 days. So he had 2 days off. He was quarantined 1 day on shift. And then the results came back from her test and we found out what it was. And he came back to work.
Okay, good, good. Questions for the chief, comments for the chief? Committee? Good.
Appreciate all your hard work, Scotty, and all the other firemen and women.
Yeah, they've been doing an excellent job. Like I said, I mean, we tried to keep the lines of communication open. With last week or so, we've been meeting every day with the ongoing shift and the offgoing shift. And then if the folks that are off, that are in leadership positions want to join in, they can. And that seems to have really curtailed some of the apprehension just because we're getting the same message delivered. We've now scaled that back to we're meeting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We feel like we can scale that back a little bit now because, again, the natives are not restless. They feel like we've got adequate PPE, adequate things in place. And we've had several exposures, but thank goodness nobody's produced any signs or symptoms.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, Steve.
Yeah.
I think I feel comfortable that you have it handled on a professional level, but is there anything that we can do personally to help you and help your guys and gals in the department? Anything we can do to reach out and support them?
So a lot of folks, as you've seen, we've posted on our Facebook, have bought meals. They've been more than generous to come around. I mean, cakes, bundt cakes. I mean, we kind of made a joke about it that we're going to, instead of my 600-pound life, it's going to be the 66,600-pound life. And we've got about 111 folks that are going to be eligible for that show. Just letting them know, I think if you folks just randomly send emails to the fire department, to the shifts, and just said, hey, you know, we're thinking about you. We appreciate everything you do. I think that moral support would be a lot bigger than anything that you guys have done or are doing. Some of you have asked about providing meals for them. I would say that's great, but I would be very selective on what you do. I'm even come up with the idea, if you're wanting to do that maybe some of you pool your money together and maybe give gift cards and let them go to Kroger and buy steaks, let them grill out there at the station. I mean, just to know that you guys support them and want and care about them, I think is huge for them mentally. And I think they need that more so than they do anything.
I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and take lead on that one right now. We're going to do some gift cards. Folks, text me or email to help out these guys. And Scotty, and while everyone's here, I just want to say thank you for the help you've done with us. Some of y'all have seen Andy and I doing the hometown jam every day. And the information that you've put forward has been very helpful. And anybody else like to come forward, we'd be really glad to have. And Steve's done the same thing. Be really glad to input and support.
Well, anything I can do, like I said, you know, I think like that's why we come up with the idea about doing the paperwork on these calls that we go on. Anything that we can do to calm and reassure people in the public, that as a public safety member, that's our role. And I mean, anything that we can do, stuff like that, I think is huge for our community and the people that we are sworn to protect.
All right, let's move to the blue side of public safety and kind of give us a report on what you guys been doing and how things are going over there.
Well, we're maintaining our social distance as much as we can. Of course, when we're making an arrest, that's a difficult situation. We're doing roll calls outside as much as possible. We're using hand sanitizer. We're taking temperatures every day when somebody walks into the building. We're not allowing the public in the building. We're actually talking to them on an intercom system outside. We've seen a pretty drastic reduction in calls for service. The first week.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Where'd you go, Chief?
.03% decrease from that first week. We're gathering as much PPEs as we can and trying to stockpile them and then pumping them out to our officers. Right now, the bad guys have not got the social distancing message and they still keep coming up, but we've been very fortunate and in most cases, we've been able to arrest them and put them away.
Good. Still, yeah, you're still getting a lot of LPR hits, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank God for LPR.
Yeah, that's a great tool. Have you guys had anybody quarantined on your side, on blue side?
We've had several quarantined at different times. All have come up negative, so we've been very fortunate for that.
Yeah,
of course,
what did you do when you were quarantined for 14 days? Did you?
I was quarantined for about 10 days because of a contact I had, which quarantined several other people in management. That was the first week. Came back negative on both tests, so we're going full strength right now, and hopefully it'll remain that way.
Anything you need?
No, sir. Tomorrow we will be escorting Lieutenant Lawson's body from Goodlettsville to Hendersonville. We'll be going by the police department. I've had several calls about people being out on the street. We just ask them to maintain social distancing if they want to show support, and hopefully they will do that. We have had a few calls concerning social distancing. We've been able to resolve all of them, I think, fairly quickly.
Yeah. What time are you bringing Jim's body?
We're going to meet at 9:30 at Cole and Garrett, and we should be leaving around 10. So we're estimating around 10:10 to 10:15. We'll be driving in front of the police department and then on up to Hendersonville Memorial Gardens.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments for Chief Miller?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Keep it up, both chiefs, and stay safe. That's what I'd tell you. All right, let's move on. Discussion of amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 20, Parks and Recreation Regulations, Section 20-503. We have Mr. Gilly who wanted that done, and we have Mr. Bradley who wrote that amendment. So, Mr. Gilly, you're on deck.
Sure. This came from some incidences we were having where Corporal Stevens is now our liaison from the parks to the police, and we were having some difficulty exactly finding what to charge people with when they're into some activities at Mary's Magical Place and other places. Him and Commander Rogan, along with Jeremy on our maintenance staff, kind of got together and came up with some language. Mr. Bradley's refined it a little bit. There's question Mr. Bradley can address that there's the original intent was to be able to take juveniles to city court where we could fine them and do things that way, but we're not sure we can do that. They may still have to go to Gallatin if they're juveniles, but this language does need to be in there for anybody over 18 that would do things like this, to misuse city property and other ways. So if Mr. Bradley wants to add anything to that.
Many instances, what brought that on?
We have had multiple cases of people up on top of the shade structures at Mary's Place.
Yeah.
You know, misusing equipment in there, misusing equipment in other facilities, climbing up on top of shelters, just doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Mr. Bradley, you got anything to add to that?
Well, one of the original intents was to hopefully have a city ordinance where juveniles, you know, people under the age of 18 could be charged maybe in city court instead of juvenile court to save a trip to Gallatin for our officers. And the city judge and I are both researching that now. The state law defines an act of delinquency as being a violation of a state law or a city ordinance. So it could very well be that exclusive jurisdictions in juvenile court. We have a letter from the juvenile judge that allows us to try speeding cases for 16 and 17-year-olds in city court. Judge Lincoln's research to see if that agreement can be broad enough to include other city ordinances. If it would save some police time, not having to go file a petition for delinquency in Gallatin.
Sure. Okay.
I have a question for either Mr. Bradley or Mr. Gilly. What would you think about adding language that says at the very end of this proposed ordinance under subparagraph J to say or in a dangerous manner? So it says outside the scope of intended use or in a dangerous manner. You think that would?
Yeah, I'm fine
I
with
think
that.
that's good.
Yeah,
I think that's good. Why don't you make a motion to amend?
Okay, I'll move to amend to add at the very end or in a dangerous manner.
Second.
Let me read your full amendment before we vote on it. Peg, you got anything on this?
No, I have a question outside of it having to do
Okay.
kind of with it.
Let
No.
me go here first then. The change will be J, engage in any acts within the parks or park equipment, park buildings, shelters, concession stands, playgrounds, restroom, or other city-owned areas that would be outside the scope of their intended use or in a dangerous manner. And I like enter in a dangerous manner in there. That sounds good. So that being said, all in favor of amending?
Sorry, sir. Mr. Chairman, point of order. On video meetings, all votes have to be roll call.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we will do a roll call. You want me to do it in alphabetical order or just do it?
Whichever way you choose, sir.
All right, let's go. Petrelli.
Yes.
Brown. Yes. What's the other guy? Edwards. Oh yeah. Okay. Edwards.
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Andy, I noticed you had, let me ask you something, Peg. I'll get right back to you about inline.
You need to vote on the main motion now, Chairman.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Remember, roll call vote.
All right, on the main motion, all in favor? Ms. Petrelli,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
and Brown, aye. Thank you. Go ahead, Peg, you had a question or comment?
Thank you, Chairman. So kind of congruent with this, there's been a situation that's been going on at a business which backs up. I don't know if it's to the park or to the greenway, the technical term, but I appreciate Chief Bush and HBD looking into that situation for Dr. Ali. I think we're getting closer to a resolution for her. But with the amount of traffic that she gets coming off of that park, she does take a lot of random vandalism. And recently folks have been pulling off the power to her building. So I think Chief Bush went out there today and got some of that resolved. But is that a part of the Greenway, Director Gilly, or is that a park?
That I believe that's part of the greenway that's in between the parks.
Yeah, because she does take a lot of weird activity there for whatever reason, and it's kind of a weird area to patrol because she's kind of at the end of that strip mall. But
Right.
I appreciate y'all taking a look at that.
That part is really under the public works jurisdiction, to be
Is it
honest.
really?
Yeah, we maintain the parts that are within the parks. and they take care of everything, but like between them, that's outside the actual parks areas. But I mean, we help each other out. I mean, we went and painted vandalism, a graffiti on Indian Lake the other day for them. But if it's something we need to do on a regular basis, I need to probably let Trace know.
No, I think it's more of debris. I know there's folks that ride horses through there. Last year, the big issue is that unbagged horses ride through there and leave quite a bit of poop in her parking lot. I think she is going to be putting up no trespassing signs. She's working that out with Keith right now. So anyway.
Can you shoot me the address so I can?
Yeah. Hey, where is that? What's the location on that? This is Dave.
Do you know where the Chinese buffet is off of Indian Lake? The only McDonald's on Indian Lake, that strip mall back there.
Yes, ma'am.
If you follow the strip mall all the way back to the end, there's the Chinese buffet, and then her doctor's office is right there. It's an arthritis clinic.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
242 Indian Lake
Just so
Boulevard.
you know, I talked to Commander Rogan about that today, and we kind of discussed a couple issues. And the reality is, once they go up, if they're touching their electrical panel specific to that business, I think charging them with trespassing is an easy thing to do, as well as vandalism due to shutting off their power. So they're going to be looking at that and attempting to identify those two individuals on that video.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I mean, her biggest concern is that she stores medicine in that building, and
Right.
the only reason why she knew the last, because it's been shut off twice now. The only reason why. What's that?
The address is 242 Indian Lake Boulevard.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, if her
I went
medicine
over there today,
she could be looking at a huge loss, and it's dangerous for the patients.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, Commander Rogan is on that. She's going to be, they're going to be pursuing that to see if they can charge those individuals, identify them and charge them.
Thank you.
I don't mind. I'll reach out to Trace and shoot that address to them and make sure they kind of keep an eye on the debris and trash.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's a gate right there in the back of the building that comes right off the greenway there. I don't know if you could lock that, if that would deter them, but we spoke today. She's not in any kind of violation by putting locks on those shut-off valves. Like I told her, if we need them, we're going to use our bolt cutters, or she has the option to put the keys in the Knox box. So she has a couple of options to put locks on those on the power supply to keep folks from turning it off. It's going to cost her a little bit of money. She's got 11 of them, but there's no violation for her locking those.
And Andy, she can't close the gate. She can't do anything to block the access of the path, because they've had those discussions for like 2 years now.
Okay.
But she should be putting up no trespassing signs. She and Keith are going to be working out what she can and can't do.
I made that suggestion today. I think what Chief Bush said is, talk to her about locking those switches where they can't be turned off unless somebody has a key, or in the event of, an emergency situation, FD could cut those locks off pretty quick.
Thank you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything on that, Russ?
Nothing.
All right. Next thing on our list.
If I can chime in on that one, though, just for us, Chief Bush and I talked about that, locking those up. It'd be better if we just use some little small padlocks, not those masters that you can shoot with a rifle, something that we can cut easily, not the toughest lock in the world. So, but that'll keep a kid or a vandal from just reaching there and flipping that off.
Yeah, a lock's just going to keep an honest man honest anyway.
Yeah.
And, I agree. All right, let's move on to the discussion of the governor's local government support grant for $1.3 million, which is basically a wish list for whoever wants to try to get some of that money. And I've asked both our chiefs. I know Dave and they have already worked on their budgets. Sales tax is down. I don't know where revenues look like, but $1.3 million is a lot of money. I think there are certainly some things in public safety that we could use some of this money for. So I've asked both the chiefs to kind of throw that out on the table, so we can get an idea as 19 people in this queue right now, and to go have a further discussion, because that'll be coming. We've got to accept do a resolution in here in the next month or so to take care of that. I believe by the end of the month. Isn't it true?
By the 30th.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have to by the 30th apply?
I think you just have to submit that you're doing a resolution to accept that grant money.
This is Dave. Robert, are you on?
Yes.
Go ahead and explain to the Public Safety Committee what you and I talked about
Yeah.
the timetable, please.
Yes. No, you have until April 30th of 2021 to apply. Applications do not until this April 30th. So you have a full 12 months, 1 year to apply for that. And then you have until 2023, June 30th of 2023 to have expended it or to have submitted all claims relevant to. So we certainly have more time than April 30th of this year.
So one of the things that we talked about doing was getting on the April 28th agenda with a resolution for this money so that on the 30th of April, we could be ready to go to the state with the applicant. When the applications come out on the 30th, they're not even coming out till the 30th. In your packet, I think you saw the governor's support grants. I think you saw that sheet that I sent, or Kay sent with that. And number 5, the public safety items would include ADA type projects, not planning, as well as equipment purchases for law enforcement, fire and emergency response, and school buses, which we don't have. So there's going to be some, you guys have got a pretty good latitude in public safety of what you can and can't do. And I think we all agree that the 1.3 will probably be divided up among, we haven't had any of, this is the first meeting we've had between any of the committees. And so I think everybody's going to put their requests in, and then at the board meeting on the 28th, I think we'll, probably hammer out how we're going to allocate the money, because when we apply, and Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, when we apply after the 30th, once the applications come due and we apply, we do need to specify on the application what we're going to spend the money on. Is that correct, Robert?
That's correct. Yeah. Yes. A plan, proposal of some kind.
Okay. In other words, we just can't say we're going to spend it on these projects and we may move money around and so on and so forth. That's probably not going to happen. We need to be very specific on our projects and our list from each department of what can and can't be had with this 1.3 million.
If I could ask a question, I don't know if we need to be in that much of a hurry. The money won't even be available till after July 1st. And Robert, it sounds like you understand this. You've looked at this process. It looks like we have to submit a budget, and it just says budget. I assume that means past budget as part of the application, right?
I took that to mean, and which what you're talking about, it would be very easy, but I took that to mean a budget for the project or proposal.
Okay.
If it were, for example, if you were buying equipment, quotes, and budgeted items, but the other interpretation there, yeah, obviously is
okay.
Your budget would be very simple to do.
But the funds wouldn't even be available till July 1st, would it?
That's correct.
Yeah, and it may be, Russ, that's a good point. We may discuss some of these issues, talk about it at the next board meeting, Zoom meeting, and then sometime in May or even June, decide on the final resolution, because the money's not going to be available till July. And so that way we can see how this COVID-19 plays out. We can see how our budget plays out. We can see what the needs may be. There may be needs in different areas that we don't even see yet.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be the best approach.
Good point.
Robert, did you not say that it's going to be 2021, April the 30th, before we would be applying for this?
So it says all required documents must be submitted by April 30th of 2021. Yes. So you're available to apply this April 30th, but you have until April 30th of 2021 to get those submitted and applied for. That makes
Robert, this is a spend all at one time deal, right? You got to spend, we've got to spend down on the 1.3 at one time. We couldn't divide some of it now and some of it next year.
I believe they have not specified, those rules have not come out quite yet, but I would imagine that's the case. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things that they did do is I think everybody knew that the 654,000 was the first round of state monies that the state voted on to give the communities, and we just haven't got 654. When the COVID-19 hit, they doubled everybody's allotment from the state to help with the COVID-19. So some of the things that we may want to look at are going to have to deal, could possibly deal with COVID-19 issues, finance issues, budget issues, and things like that. So the first 654,000 was for general purchases and things like that. The other 654 was because of the COVID, and it might put the budgets in the cities in a financial bind. So they gave a little bit of latitude with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, this is the second sheet that's come out. The first one did not have COVID on it. So.
That's correct.
It doesn't matter to me either way. I just want to make sure that we're all starting to move in the same direction. For budget time is here. Are going to be here pretty quickly, and everybody's going to want a piece of the pie. So, but both of you have lists that of things that you'd like to go with. So I would suggest get them with Dave and work on some of those items. I agree. I don't need to necessarily work on them tonight because it's getting 6:35, and then Scott's got a meeting here in a few minutes. But you know, we need police cars. There's no doubt about that. We've talked about that before. Scotty needs some equipment. We've got a fire hall that needs some repair done on it. We can't use this to build any buildings, but I think we need to utilize it for the best needs that we can find. And, we've still got some, what, Jim, 2008 Crown Vics rolling.
Yeah, we still have 2008 Crown Victorias actively in the fleet.
Yeah, we need to do a little bit better than that. So I think, you know, some of these things, looking at that 1.3 can be done. So I just, I'd urge you to keep working on your list and fine-tuning it, and getting with Dave and working those down. We'll talk again on it. Russ, do you have something?
No, I don't have anything.
Mr. Chairman, in what I've asked them, we have a staff meeting every day at 3 o'clock.
Right.
We've got 29 or 30 people on that staff meeting, first, second, third line of command people in each department. And I asked them on Monday, yesterday, even last week, to start getting the list together from each department. And then we would go back to each committee like we're doing tonight and discuss these things. So the general committee may discuss it tonight. And then I'm going to request that the Public Works and the Finance Committee meet before the 28th so that we can kind of have a general idea. And then when we have a budget workshop, we can throw this on the table along with the city budget so that you guys, we can all have a discussion about it.
Good. Scott?
Yes, sir. I've already got word from Robert, going back to what we talked about earlier with Chief Bush. Chief Miller, the same offer goes with you. Whatever we can do to help out with your guys, anybody who wants to participate in doing the gift cards or however we set this up, because Robert, and we get with Robert tomorrow to make sure whatever we do is the right way and isn't considered some sort of benefit or perk or something like that. But anybody who does want to participate, get with me, Robert, and I'll get with you tomorrow just to make sure, because we're going to do something for both PD and for fire.
Thank you, Scott. We'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Great. Robert, I've got a question for you. Being the situation we're in, do you have any kind of feel or estimate how big a lick we're going to take on sales tax? And we'll just assume maybe we open things back up May the 1st. So we've been shut down for 6 weeks at that time, 6-7 weeks. So.
Are you referring to 2020 until between now and June 30th, or are you talking about next fiscal year?
Now June 30th.
I think for the most part,
it normally runs about 2 months behind, doesn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
But for accounting purposes, you know, we'll accrue that and still put it in. For the most part, I think it's going to be between 10 and 15% most at the most. What we're seeing is obviously grocery stores are kind of selling out, but what some people don't realize is, those perishable goods and foods, they're taxed at a much lower rate than any other items. So we don't quite make as much money off that as we would something, say, you going out to the movies or any of those items where you're out of your house. We're really looking at somewhere between 10 and 15% on the last month, which would be, May and June. But I would say 8 to 10 and then 10 to 12 in June.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify one thing. I do think we'll make our budget this year. We were just that far up.
Okay. I guess that was the indirect question, or will we make the budget this year?
Sorry about that.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Steve, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So and we gave you a list, but so the original bunch of money, you had advised that we need to look at what we could spend 250,000 on, and we did, the range and 4 vehicles. The second bunch of money is supposed to be kind of COVID related. And so can we, when we're making our list out, can we look at about 250,000 for the second group as well?
Are you asking Dave, me, or who?
Well, I'm asking either one of you, but you were the one that advised us to look at the list when we just had the 600 and some odd thousand. Yeah. To limit it to 250,000.
I think you do that. I mean, you got there's probably some computer upgrades and stuff that you can do that helps us do a better job in the field when we do stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. And, I'm a big wish list guy. We put a lot of things on the wish list and we go to the table and wrestle them around a little bit. And that'll kind of be up to you and Scotty and Dave on how that money's split up in public safety.
Okay.
I'd say just try to get whatever would make us whatever we learned in this episode that we're in right now, whatever we could provide ourselves to do a better job in either department, that would be good to look and spending some of that money on. We'd be 50,000 or 300,000 if it'd make us do a better job. That's what I would be for.
We actually have developed a list both for the prior money and for the latter money, both being around 250,000.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, if I could weigh in on that, what I'd like for the chiefs to do now, since the money's kind of doubled, is go back to their list and prioritize and see what's the most important in their list. In other words, they've done list A and list B, and with the first amount of money and the second amount of money, what I'd like for them to do is maybe combine those lists and say, okay, priorities are, and I'm just using this for example, Chief Miller is, we need police cars. And he's asked for 20 cars in the budget. Maybe he says, you know what, we asked for 4 the first time. Let's see if we can just put 8 cars in the budget for this 1.3 million. And that's our first priority. And so kind of give me and the aldermen and you people an idea what the biggest needs are in your department. Scotty may be something different with equipment or computers or whatever. In that way, once we get down to, let's just say we come up with, every department comes up with $2 million worth of requests. We're going to have to whittle that down to the 1.3 and then say, okay, Chief, you asked for 10 cars. Guess what? We're going to give you 7. Okay, Scotty, you've asked for this, and we're going to do this. So we can kind of give me a priority in every department of what you're looking for. And then we'll do like we do with the budgets and kind of whittle it down so that everybody gets a piece of the pie. Nobody gets left out. But we all know that the 100% of the requests probably will not happen.
Hey, do you want us to split the money as far as the prior money that was dedicated toward public safety and secondary money that was dedicated toward the COVID?
I'm smiling, Russ.
Yeah, there he is. I knew you had it.
Yeah.
Can I answer that if you don't
Go
mind?
ahead, Robert.
The governor originally mentioned that the second allotment would be for COVID-19 response items, but according to everything they've sent out, this is one pot of money that we get, and we can use it for COVID-19. I think it's reasonable to say to be prepared to split it out like that, but it may be a case where their COVID-19 is just included, and you have one allotment to spend for any of these 6 items. I'm not so sure that the second allotment is strictly. Yeah. He did say that originally, but I'm not so sure that's the way it's going to end up.
So I would like to kind of chime in on the end of this. I do have a wish list. And of course, my wish list is geared around a couple of big things. Station 1 is obviously our next oldest station. It is due some work. I have some quotes and estimates on doing some of that work. Otherwise, we're looking at the potential for a Station 2 all over again if we don't intervene and spend some money on it. But then on the flip side of that is I could spend about 560 grand on air pack replacements. And that's coming up in the next couple of years. And I know those are huge expenses. And if we're still not sure what this is going to go or how this is going to be, this might be a prime opportunity to consider go ahead and using some of that money for that purpose. But you're talking $570,000, and I know there's other agencies that need that, other departments that need some of that money. So that'll be a decision that you folks have to make. But knowing in the next 2 or 3, 4 years, we're probably going to be coming to you and asking because we're getting to the point that these air packs are 2 generations behind. We can't find parts for them. They're going to make them, but they won't guarantee you they'll get them to you in time. So we're running out of end of life with those. And those are just food for thought. And I'll certainly put that on a list, and you guys can make that decision. But I did want to put that those 2 bugs in your ear.
Thanks, Chief.
I have one question, Robert. You don't think that the state would deny anything that does not have anything COVID related? I don't read this to say that there's any requirement that any money has to be spent towards the COVID-19 response.
Correct. I don't believe that they would. I think it's reasonable to say that that utilizing this money in any way is taking advantage of it during the COVID crisis and because of it. So the governor mentioned that when he doubled it as his reasoning for it. But I haven't seen anything requiring it to be COVID-19 expenses yet.
I think the additional money became because of the COVID, but I don't think it's a requirement that, we may end up spending $100,000 on some COVID issues and then 1.2 million, on everything else. So I don't think it's a requirement that we have to spend that half of it on the COVID stuff.
Okay. Scotty, what are you drinking? Scotty, what are you drinking?
I think Chief.
My usual sparkling ice water.
Okay, good.
I'm pouring it over ice. I'm making it double sparkly.
There you go. Good boy. I'm not going to do that myself.
Kind of looks like vodka to me. I'm just saying.
That would only come from a man with experience. If you could smell it through the screen, A+ to you for that, buddy.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see everybody smile, and it really is a lot of stress right now. A lot of stress on your departments. I know it's stress on you. I know, Dave, you're under the gun every day. You took on a job that was a mountain, and you're doing a good job. I think you are. So you get my compliment, and I think everybody will agree with me. So anyway, give me one minute update on Fire Hall 2, Scotty.
So we did the water test on Monday. They're waiting for their samples to come back. They'll be back either late Wednesday or early Thursday morning. If they're okay, they test out okay, they'll have water at the facility. He's still having some issues with some of the subcontractors because of COVID-19 versus essential workers to get some things done, like connecting the generator, doing some painting, doing some floor fixing, things like that. So as far as the definitive date, we still don't really have one. we've got concrete poured in the front and the back. They're working towards some asphalt in the back as well. I mean, things are really looking good. I was there this morning with the exhaust system guy. I was there at 7:15 this morning for that. I mean, I guess we're on to what we need to be on if the weather will ease up on us, and a good little bit of help from the good man upstairs. We could be in it by May, but he's not guaranteeing that just yet either.
Okay. Yeah. Well, COVID-19 affected everybody in a different way, including contractors. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't know what's right in it, and I don't know what's wrong in it. I just know it's there, and we'll get to the end of it somehow. And I'm ready to get to the end of it. I think everybody else is too. Mr. Bradley and I were talking a couple of days ago that it'd be good just to see somebody in person that we haven't seen in a while, and it would. So.
We may get a temporary UNO if that's possible, without being done on the outside with as far as, the trees and shrubs and all that. But we got all of our furniture in except for our lockers in the bunk room. We certainly could move lockers down there until those get in. I think there's a PO coming to Dave, if you hadn't already seen it, that may require a signature from Public Works for those. That was kind of an oversight that was left out.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, beds are there, desks are there, furniture's there. We're still waiting on some stuff. I think the COVID-19's kind of thrown in a monkey wrench in our training room with getting our IT people in with the people to design what we want to do in our training room. So, there are some snags, but certainly we can get in there and start functioning if we needed to.
So when will you get the use and occupancy?
I mean, it's not even been discussed yet. Like I said, we still haven't done the final punch list. I did get a master key today from the supervisor in case something happens after hours and they need to get in there. I have a key, and that's the only key that I know of that's been given. Of course, I won't be doing anything with that until we take possession of that. I won't be going in and out of there unless workers are there. I can try to pinpoint Mr. Boger to see if he has a definitive date, but every time I ask him, it's all dependent on these subcontractors.
What's the issue with the floor?
Just some miscues they had putting down the LVT, some spots that we noticed doing our punch list. We found them, and there's not a ton, but there's a few issues, and they're going to fix them. They just can't get the subs to come in there and do it because of the COVID-19.
Yeah. Okay. It has the pad. Is it cured?
So it was not the front pad. It was the handicap pad. So the front pad is good. We're good to go with that front pad where the apparatus would pull in and out of. It was actually the handicap ramp. He misspoke when he told me it was the pad. It was just the handicap ramp, and they have dug that out. And I was there today, but I didn't pay attention. I think they've already reported that, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Great. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, ma'am. Me too. I'm ready to be home.
All right. We've got about 2 or 3 more minutes and got to get out of here so general committee can get in here. Any more comments from anybody?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
If anybody hasn't had a chance to watch the video that Robert put out, I think it would be very beneficial. Although we may see a break in this by June, it's there. The experts are definitely saying that we will be experiencing this again in the fall, and it will last into January, February of 2021. So I think we need to take this chance that we've had to see what we've done in this first episode and be prepared if that second episode comes.
Yeah, we definitely need to go to school and take notes and figure out all that stuff that we need to do a little bit better between now and fall, and then pray like a Dickens that fall don't get here that way.
Mr. Chairman, I want to just say one comment so that the public safety knows, we meet every day at 3 o'clock, and I want you to know, I told the staff today that we didn't know we were going to get through this, but the staff working from home, the police, the fire, all the staff, top to bottom, is doing what they need to do. The city's still running smooth, running better than I ever thought it could with this new work from home deal and staying safe and things like that. So I just want to let the committee know that the staff, top to bottom, the 400 employees is doing a great job, and we're keeping it between the ditches, so to speak. And again, everybody's doing their part. And I just want to let this committee know that, and I appreciate them.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. I think we feel that all the way down to Robert and those folks inside. I know Tina's out there working on this right now. Man, she got me through some hitches so fast I didn't even know how she did it. So, but
it takes a village, and I think everybody's contributing. So that's the main thing, and we appreciate Mr. Lamar as well.
Yep. All right, guys. Everybody good?
Yep.
God bless you. Have a good night. Talk to you again soon.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Take care.
Bye.
Yep.